Alright, so this is my Noden Assault Mode deck. Obviously, I use Instant Fusion to bring out Elder God Noden. Noden will let me get a level 4 or lower monster from a graveyard and special summon it, and its effects negated. Also banish it when it leaves the field. Main targets are Flameville Magician and Witch of the Black Rose. Those are because they're tuners. So I can go into an instant synchro summon of any level 8, or I can exceed into a Sky Blaster, a Exciton Knight, or a Rhapsodian Berserk. So of course, start as Assault Mode. Contribute him to negate a spell, trap, or monster effect. During the end phase in which I applied that effect, I can special summon it back from the graveyard. That's a nice little 3000 beater. If it's destroyed by a battle or card effect, I can return the original Stardust Dragon from the graveyard onto the field. Flameville Magician, 4-star tuner, 200 defense, fire attribute. That actually does matter, because if I wasn't using Soul Charge and I used Rekindle instead, the fact that it has 200 defense and it's a 4-star fire, makes it useful. As well as we got Inari Fire, 4-star, 200 defense, so Rekindle can bring that back as well. We have Flameville Fire Dog, 4-star fire, 200 defense, Rekindle can bring that back. So you could do that, but I'm using Soul Charge instead. But Rekindle, obviously you could swap in and out. It's all about player preference. The thing is, the reason why I'm using Soul Charge instead of Rekindle, which I normally would, is because Soul Charge allows me to bring back any of my 8-star synchros. So the ability to bring back something that I already created is defeated by battle, like a Scrap Dragon, or let's say I synchro for Scrap Dragon, use Scrap Dragon, target himself in a card and popped it, then I can just Soul Charge, bring it right back. So that way I could apply the effect again and destroy something else. So all that good stuff. I can't do that with Rekindle, so that's why I use Soul Charge instead. But I lose my battle phase if I do that, of course. But it's up to you if you want to try to OTK and that's where Rekindle will come in. Witch of the Black Rose, mainly because she's a 4-star spellcaster. Inari Fire, you can special summon it from your hand while you control a spellcaster type monster. This is why I use Witch of the Black Rose, because she is a level 4 spellcaster. So I can go into a first turn 8-star synchro summon, like for starters of course, using either Witch of the Black Rose or Flameville Magician and one Inari Fire, and go straight into a Stardust play. Of course, Flameville Fire Dog. It's 1900, destroys a monster that your opponent controls by battle, sends it to the graveyard. You can special summon one fire monster with 200 defense or less from your deck, except a copy of Flameville Fire Dog. Obviously I use this to get me Flameville Magician onto the field. So that way I can synchro in main phase 2 into a synchro like Stardust Dragon, for example. Inari Fire does have a secondary effect. During your next standby phase, after this creates a card on the field was destroyed by a card effect and sent to a graveyard, you can special summon it. So it's pretty good if you summon it and then your opponent like trenchels. It's like, alright, cool. During my next standby phase I'll come back. So it's decent, but typically you just use it to special sync or special and exceed summon. Instant Fusion, of course, that gives you an instant level 4 from your extra deck onto the field that you can use to exceed summon with or synchro with. Plus, since we're using Noden, we get the added effect that even if we just top deck Instant Fusion, we use it to bring out Noden. Noden can resurrect from the grave any of our level 4 monsters. Typically, it would be one of our tuners. I typically bring back Flameville Magician on average with that combo. And I can sync or exceed summon. Galaxy Cyclone. It's a good replacement for, the Mighty Bait Doll, because of the fact that I can use it in the grave in case it ever gets milled or discarded, or if I set it and it gets MST'd, I can use the secondary effect during my main phase, except for the turn it was sent to a graveyard, banish it, pop one face-up spell or trap card on the field, which is pretty good. Getting stuff like Vanny's Empty, Skill Drain, that kind of stuff. And then it also has the ability that I can activate it and target one set spell or trap card on the field and destroy it, which is great. So I get 2 for the price of 1. I get to pop 2 cards for the price of 1, right? So that's awesome. And then MST can let me target and destroy one spell or trap card on the field. So it gets rid of it. Anything face up or face down, and it's a quick play, so it's chainable. I can activate during my opponent's end phase after they set a card, or I could just chain to the activation of a card. Like, let's say I activate a trap card like Skill Drain, my opponent activates Royal Decree, then I can chain my MST, get rid of the Royal Decree, so that way my Skill Drain will resolve and apply its effect. You could of course use MST against Tenki, so that way Tenki doesn't search out a Beast Warrior like Yamada or Wolf Bark or any other Beast Warrior monster that is typically played. Red screen, defense, it's all for the win, right? Red screen combo with Skill Drain or Shadow Imprisoner or Light Imprisoning, and start as assault mode. Can create my Triangle of Doom. Red screen for defense, especially if I use assault mode's effect. I don't have to worry about my opponent attacking me directly, because red screen will be there to protect me. Skill Drain will make sure that my opponent doesn't have any useful effects, especially effects that can potentially get rid of the red screens that can attack me directly. This, that, and the third, of course. Assault mode activate, so I can summon Stardust Assault mode by triggering a Stardust, obviously. Royal Decree helps me shut down heavy trap decks that are heavy on traps. Plus it helps me with the blanketing effect, being able to control, because obviously this is a control style deck, to control what my opponent can and cannot play, because clearly I'm not going to let him play anything he wants. I control the duel, right? Dark Bribe for more control, especially if I don't. Let's say I have Skill Drain and I have Red Screen on the field, which is good. That's 2 parts of my 3-card, my Triangle of Power. But if I haven't made Assault Mode or even just Stardust yet, Dark Bribe will substitute for it. It'll be just as good until I actually do get my boss monster out. Skill Drain, of course, helps you blanket the field to negate a lot of spamming effects, and it'll negate more than one effect, unlike Veiler and Breakthrough Skill, which can only negate one target. This can continuously negate multiple effects that triggers on the field. Shadow Imprison can negate effects that trigger, not continuous effects, but can negate any effect from a dark attribute monster that triggers on the field and in the graveyard. So that gives more coverage, as opposed to Skill Drain, which only does the field. This does the grave as well. Light Imprison, same thing, but for light attributes. In this game, obviously, light and dark are the big boys. Those attributes are the big boys in the game. So there's a lot of decks that have power within those attributes. So it's a good idea to, bring them down a notch. Take them to a level where they're manageable. You can go toe to toe with them instead of them just being straight overpowered. And Soul Charge, so we can bring back stuff and synchro and do all types of awesome plays with that powerful powerful soul charge. Of course, the 3 Nodens. When a Noden special summon, you can target 1 level 4 or lower. Once your graveyard special summons, effects negate and banish it if this card leaves the field. Right, I already said that before. Sky Blaster. The first effect is detach a material, target a face-up monster, and put it face down defense position. Or detach 2 materials, target a face-up card, not just a monster, face-up card, and send it back to your opponent's deck and shuffle. This is good for all types of stuff, especially monsters that can't be destroyed by battle card effects. This is a good way of getting rid of that. Plus, it's a good way of getting rid of anything that's, that's in your way, so that you can do a nice little direct 2000 attack, direct to your opponent. Exciton Knight. It's basically rank 4 black rolls, right? Help it clear the field, help it clear your opponent's back row. Especially if you're in a scenario where you played Royal Decree. And you don't want them to still have the traps, because eventually they're just going to draw MST and pop your Royal Decree. So to avoid that, you can just go straight into Exciton Knight and just get rid of your opponent's traps before they get a chance to get rid of your Royal Decree, as an example. But of course, Exciton Knight, just in general, especially, you can combo it, play Royal Decree, so that way they can't counter the summoning of your Exciton Knight. Use Exciton and clear the field, and then just set some extra traps. That way you have field presence and your opponent will not have field presence. Rhapsody and Berserk. Detach up to 2 materials from it, because you can do it. You can activate its effect twice per turn. Detach 2 materials, up to 2 materials from it. Banish 2 cards from a graveyard. And if you have an XYZ monster on your side field, you can equip this to that monster, and that monster gains 1200 attack power. So it's a pretty good monster against obviously a lot of graveyard based decks. It's good against an opponent. Let's say your opponent is playing a assault mode deck, like a mirror match or something, and then you play a card, they negate it, assault mode goes there, assault mode goes to graveyard, then you could probably go into a instant fusion, bring out Noden brings back something, you exceed, go right into Rhapsody and Berserk and get rid of the assault mode and the Stardust that they used to make the assault mode in the first place, and get rid of both of them, so now you don't have to deal with that. And then obviously you just try to create your own Stardust assault mode. Console Fighter. It's a good beater. It gets powered up for warriors in the graveyard, so if you go up against a warrior deck, it could get really strong, so it makes it easier to run over your opponent's monsters. It's pretty good defensively, because when it's destroyed as all battle, you can target a warrior monster in the graveyard and special summon it. It can target itself, of course. And it's a dark attribute, so it comes in handy against stuff like I love Justice Cataster, for example, since he's classified as a dark attribute. Crimson Blader, good for shutting down a lot of level 5 and higher decks. You can use this to prevent your opponent from synchro summoning, or from obviously summoning something like a Quasar or something, by killing the weaker monsters, and that will prevent them from summoning their level 5 and higher. So it's really good. Pretty much it'll just give you an extra turn to come up with something to beat your opponent with. Then Scrap Dragon. Target 1 card you control, 1 card your opponent controls, and destroy it. Typically you could target Scrap Dragon and then a card your opponent controls and pop those cards. If he's destroyed by a card effect or by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can select a non-synchro scrap monster in your graveyard and special summon, but there is none in the deck, so that doesn't matter. Blackwing Dragons, mainly for burn decks that have burn effects. So you might not summon it as often, but if you're ever in the scenario where your opponent is burning you, stalling and burning you, you can use Blackwing Dragon to absorb the effect damage for you, to give you a chance to find a way to beat your opponent. High Red Dragon Archfiend. Once per turn during your main phase, you can destroy all other face-up attack position monsters on the field. Other monsters you control cannot attack during the turn you activate this effect. Obviously, this is good for when your opponent tries to OTK you, summon a whole bunch of monsters. They attack you, you play red screen to prevent them from attacking you with all their monsters. Then on your turn, you can Flame Veil Magician, Instant Fusion, or Flame Veil Magician, Nary Fire, for example, or Instant Fusion, which of course will get you the Noden. You can use Noden and bring back any of the tuners and synchro into Hot Red, and then use Hot Red to clear your opponent's field of attack position monsters, so that way you can beat your opponent's, OTK. Thought Ruler, 2700 Psychic type monster, Dark. It destroys a monster at Zaw battle. You gain life points equal to that monster's attack. If a Psychic type monster is targeted by a spell or trap card, you can pay 1,000 to negate it. So this is a good card against Deep Prison, Compulse, Wind Blast, Regeki Break, Karma Cut, stuff like that. Card effects that target, Snatch Steal, anything of that nature. Book of Moon, Lance, so on and so on. Tons of cards that target. If it targets him, you can pay 1,000 negatives, which is great. It self-protects itself. I love that. And then when it destroys a monster by battle, you gain life points equal to the monster's attack that you killed. So that pretty much helps you recover the life points you're sacrificing for his effect. Also, it helps to gain life, especially when you're losing life for red screen, instant fusion, skill drain. So it's good to gain that life back using him. And then of course 3 Stardust, so you can summon your Stardust Assault modes. And that's the end of the deck profile.